I don't always respond to things online. I usually just let stuff go. Obviously, you can watch something, you not watch something. But in this particular instance, Ron Butler, who has the Angry Mortgage podcast. By the way, full disclosure, I like the podcast. I think you guys should definitely check it out. A lot of good information on it. And Ron Butler, Mr. Butler, has been around for a long time in the mortgage industry, and so he knows a lot about a lot of different markets. Definitely worth listening to. However, I thought he was slightly wrong, at least partially wrong, and something that he mentioned before. And the reason I'm doing this at the beginning of the market update is that I think it's worthwhile kind of getting into this. So basically what Mr. Butler was talking about on the podcast is this idea of entry-level homes and this kind of thing. He poo-pooed it, as did many of the people that watch his show. You can see in the comments below the video. Basically, the idea is, you're getting these dog crate condos, and the first home is so expensive, most people can't afford it. And admittedly, he admits it himself. His show can be a little bit more negative leaning, at least when it comes to the housing market. But I understand why and understand how. However, having had experience with first-time homebuyers, having used the words entry-level homes myself, and yes, we realtors sometimes get a lot of flack for that, as we did from Mr. Butler in that podcast. I wanted to mention something before this, because if nothing, I'll only watch this because I try to encourage people as much as I can, even in an environment that's not that friendly. I understand home prices are very expensive. I understand not everyone in the GTA can buy a home. That's a given. However, it's not all BS, Mr. Butler, respectfully. And I wanted to do something that I haven't used in a while. The next slide is something from a first-time homebuyer seminar. I've done dozens upon dozens in person, online, over the years. And first-time homebuyers are people that I've worked with quite a bit. I have clients right now that are third, fourth homebuyers who I met initially at first-time homebuyer seminars. And here, I want to show you something, give you a little bit of evidence that it's not all BS about trying to get into the market, not always having the most perfect home. And yes, sometimes going with only the basic needs that you have versus some of the wants when you're buying your first property and moving up the property ladder, which is also a phrase that Mr. Butler wasn't too fond of, but I'll use it here with all due respect. So I'm going to minimize myself here. These are three examples. These are not investors. These are people who worked hard. These aren't people who had lots of money up front to get into the market. So let's look at the first case up top. It's a teacher couple. Teachers, yes, of course they make millions. No, teachers don't make millions, and they work hard. Believe me, I know lots and lots of teachers, vice principals, and principals. So the they bought a 4-bedroom townhome for $340,000 in 2017. Yes, these are older examples, but I want to show you because this happens now. They bought it $340 in 2017, and they sold it in 2023 because they're moving away. And the reason I mention this, they sold it for $675,000, which is an equity gain in about 6 years of $335,000 plus whatever they paid off for the mortgage. I always average anywhere $8,000 to $10,000 a year. So add to that, that's quite a bit of money. Now, I know you'll say, Andrew, the market hasn't been like that recently. I understand that most people don't live in their home for just a few years. Even 6 years is kind of a rarity for a lot of folks. So, okay, moving on to the next example. So this is perfect. I love this family, the whole family, this woman specifically. But anyway, so this older mom, grandma, was finally buying a condo for the first time. Now, again, you're going to look at the price. It's a 2-bedroom condo that they bought for $194,000 back in the fall of 2015. Oh my gosh, Andrew, that's 10 years ago. Believe me, I know homes in not too far from that area. That's Eastern Toronto, Scarborough area specifically. You're looking at you can get properties for under $400,000. I know it's not. Is it going to be the best? Is it the Shangri-La? No, of course not. But it's going to be absolutely amazing for somebody to actually be able to get into the market. What happened here is her son co-signed, helped her. Good for him. Because now in that condo, the current value is about $450,000 to $470,000 right now in 2025. So in equity gain in about 10 years, single mom, working by herself, just one woman working by herself. She has $260,000, give or take, plus whatever she's paid off on the mortgage. So likely well over $300,000 saved in equity in the property. And yes, you can say, yeah, Andrew, but if she had to sell it now, the condo market's so slow. Yeah, absolutely, but she's not selling now. She's living in it. The point being, that's just one person saving $300,000. So yes, the property ladder gets scoffed at. Yes, the entry-level homes get scoffed at. But however, this lady who could have never saved in her one job, $300,000. She has that plus whatever she saved off of she's a prudent person, getting, saving money for herself from her work as well. So that's a second example, very simple example, happens all the time. And the third is first-time homebuyer with a son, bought a semi-detached home for $415,000. I know that is not possible anymore, at least well inside the GTA. However, back in 2017, and the current value for that property is about $700,000. So the equity gain about seven and a half years. $285,000 plus the mortgage, so probably $330,000, $340,000, well over $300,000. in terms of equity gained. That is money that she's going to have when she decides to sell that property, maybe move into a condo or something. Now, take these three examples, very simple examples. They're non-investors, just people trying to get into the market, and they did get into the market with building tons of equity over the past few years. Now, take this example, and imagine this is instead of these guys, this is a young couple, both of them who are in some business or something where the income can be increased. See, that's the property ladder. You do this, and you have this much money now for the next down payment. And yes, you can have a mortgage for a long time because you're upsizing and then upsizing. But if income allows for it, and if you're prudent with your money, you have a good credit score. This is how people, I've often taught this. This is how you get into a $2 million house. This is you get into a $3 million house. Initially, it sounds crazy, like it'll never happen to you. But in reality, that's how it happens. So my point is, my little slight quasi-rebuttal to Mr. Butler's video is, it does happen. I know it's not all BS. I know it's hard to get into your first property. I get it. And no, you don't want a small condo as your first property. You were hoping for a house. And that's what it was maybe 40, 50 years ago. And yes, it'll give you nostalgic when you think about the wonders of the past. However, we live in 2025. This is the environment we live in. And right now, in this market, this is a great segue. The condo market, which is often the entry level, I use that term, property, it's a soft market. And there's tons and tons of inventory. So perhaps some of you watching this, if you're a first-time home buyer, and there are some people who watch this who are first-time home buyers, listen, it's a great market for you right now. Maybe you get financing going. Maybe you start figuring out what's going on. Maybe you give me a call and we can walk through it, again, with no pressure. So guys, 2025, Andrew the Realtor, beautiful people. I welcome you to a wonderful month. If you see how red my face is, that's about 6 hours at the Argo game with my son was doing the flag waving. And then the next day I did flag football coaching. So I am fully sunned out. Forgive the red face. Don't tell my wife, she'd get upset. Okay, so 2025, June of 25, what are we covering in this month? I'm trying to go a little bit faster here, and hopefully I'm not talking too fast so that you can always slow down the video. So the market looks frozen. Very important, but it isn't. I promise you. I'll give you the numbers. You tell me. Sales last month versus May, which is important. May, I should have put an apostrophe there. Sweet heavens. I'm not changing it now. Buyers, you're like a dog that caught the car. I'll explain what that means. I think some of you maybe already understand what I'm saying. I'm not making fun of you. I'm just telling you something. Sometimes stating the obvious gets people to go, hey, you know what? That might be right. And sellers, your price may not be your issue. It's not always the case, but please listen to this. If you're on the market right now and you got nothing to do for the next 10 minutes, so please just hang out with me. Seriously. Or go towards the end where I'm talking about the sellers. Because I'm going to tell you something that at least you can mull over if your house is on the market and you're not getting a lot of showing. So as always, I try to provide this information. That's a QR code to my little real estate experience. AskAndrew.realtor is the website. Contact me if you have questions. I do get more and more contacts these days from people. Some are on the market. Some don't, listen, don't call me. You can't. I'll call you. They tell me. And because they're already on the market, we don't step on any toes, but they're asking questions. What's going on? Why am I not seeing showings? That kind of thing. Or somebody's looking to do something like, Andrew, what are my odds of selling right now? You got questions? Ask me. Believe me, realtors contact me. Not a problem. I'm happy to help. So these are numbers from last month. Now let's get this is when reality set in. Not crazy, super duper, clickbait. Everything is an existential crisis. The sky is not falling. I promise you. It's just kind of hanging in there. So first and foremost, let's look at this number right here. This is the number of sales. And I'm going to give you guys, hold on, sales, put that in your back pocket. The next slide is going to give you a little bit of a better view. However, we're down about 13% May last month versus May of 2024. That's not listen, sky's falling is not 13% down. Like, I'm sorry. That's not a crash. That's just sales volume. The average price on average in the GTA, again, average, take that with a grain of salt, always, down 4%. So it's not a huge price drop either. So sales are not huge dropping, more so than the price. Prices are not really moving much, at least at this point. Active listings is really big. This is in May, just under 31,000. At this point in the middle of June, we're well over 32,000 active listings, which is a record. Please understand, when I say record, I'm not talking about the past few years. I'm talking record ever. And a good portion, around half of that, I believe, are condos, condo apartments. Important. Property days on market is significantly higher than May at 39. So this is where seller, if you're on the market right now, this is where you're having a hard time. Property days on market on average is still quite high. Sales are down, so it makes it harder, especially when you got so much competition. Now, if you're a buyer, take the reverse of that. Prices are not really going down much. So I don't know what you're waiting for. Seriously, what are you waiting for? Even buyer's agents, most of my clients for the past year and a half have been sellers, probably about 60, 70%. So well more than half. And I'm speaking to a lot of buyer's agents because a lot of buyer agents who don't do a lot of business, they often just work with buyers. Nothing wrong with that. I do that myself. But they tell me, Andrew, I can't get these buyers to buy. Look, Look at the price. Look at the sales drop. What are you waiting for? This can be a thing. Now, on a month-over-month basis, there's not too much. You can obviously pause this and look around. Property days on market, a little bit better. And sales May versus April are higher. By the way, from March, April, May, I think well into June, sales overall have been going up. So things are selling, and so buyers are noticing, hey, listen, great opportunity. Let's get in there and buy something, but not enough are doing so. That's why we have this really, really high inventory. And you look at just, never mind active listings, which are very high. Look at new listings here that I didn't even circle. Still about 2,000 much. So we're still listing more than we did before, and we already have more properties on the market than we did before. That explains the market a lot. Now, back to sales. Sales. Watch this. Move myself out of the way. Comparison. Comparison is very, very important. This is May. This is last month. Around 6,200. Give or take. Depends who you listen to. This part of the GTA, that GTA is a 61 something to 6,200, give or take. That's last month. Now, excuse me, May of 24. Watch this. 7,000. Now, it's bigger, of course. In May 24 was not the best. May last year was not the best May. It was okay. It wasn't like the fastest, craziest May. Why? 23. 9,200. That's a very crazy May. Very crazy May. But compared to last year, 6,200 to 7,000, is that plummeting? Is that crashing? We diving into the depths? Look at May 22nd. 22. May of 22. Now, if you remember 22, the first quarter of 22 is still the highest price we've had ever in the GTA. Prices are still catching up to the first quarter of 22. Around March, April of 22, that's when things begin to change. And we had a huge drop. The correction, it spiked in the winter and spring of 22, and it came down anywhere from 15, 20 to 25%. That was the correction from the first quarter of the year to the summer of 22. This is May. Things are still happening in May. And the sales in May of 22 were 7,600, which is about 1,500 more, 1,400 more than May of 25. It's higher, but that's a really, really busy May. So the point being, here's what I'm trying to tell you guys. This isn't too crazy. Yes, they're low sales, especially when you contrast it to the amount of inventory we have. So yes, you have 100 bananas and only 5 sell, you barely even notice. You got 10 bananas and 5 sell. You really notice. You get the idea. However, look, it's not crazy. And this is just sales. Prices you've seen. Prices aren't even going down much. Now, we got the next announcement is going to be July 30th. So most recent announcement you guys have probably heard. And on June 4th, we didn't do anything. Bank of Canada did not do anything. So we had some decreases. Then we've been sitting for 2. Now, what are the odds they're going to sit for another one? With inflation still going down. Inflation numbers have been decent. Core inflation is not the best, but it's still going down. And with the way the market is, the way things are, what are the odds that next announcement on July 30th is not going to be a cut? They're very high. Like, it's going to happen. Watch this. Inflation, that I was just mentioning, in April. We don't have May numbers yet. We're going to have that towards the end of June. 1.7. And I know there's core inflation. There's this. I'm not an economist. But here's the thing. I know numbers. Down, on average less. So we're downwards. There are still plenty of people talking about rate cuts, at least 2 this year. Okay, so let's sum this up. Buyers, please listen. Please listen. I know I sell real estate. It's not a conflict of interest me telling you facts that I just gave you, even though I would like for you to sell or buy. Inventory is crazy high. Over 30,000 active listings. We covered this now. Very high inventory. Lots of options. Prices are not plummeting. Have you noticed? Well, yeah, Andrew, but what this area? I know. On average, they're not dropping. Some areas are dropping more than others. If somebody's desperate, the prices are dropping more than others. I don't get off a tangent, but I really hate the fact that people take advantage of people sometimes. It drives me a little nuts. I don't have clients doing that. Now, sales are pretty close to normal. You notice? I showed you the sales thing. It's not that big of a difference. Now, most forecasts have at least 2 more interest rate cuts. So far, that's what I'm hearing in the news and everything. I don't know. I'm not an economist, but it looks like that's what's going to happen. So 2 more interest rate cuts. What do you think it's going to do to the prices? You think they're going to keep dropping or they're going to plummet or whatever the word you want to use? They haven't plummeted yet. Sellers are motivated and entertaining different options. That's different conditions. That is a thing. That's a really real thing. Buyers, you have so many options. You can come in, if you have to sell a house and you come in and you really want to get something very specific and you found it, you can get it. Put a condition that says, hey, listen, give me 30 days, 60 days to sell my house. And some sellers will take it depending on the property. You might even take the property off the market. You do it exclusively with them so they're not losing market days. They can always relist if your house doesn't sell. Kill some time, no doubt about it, but there's a lot of flexibility there. So take advantage. Have a realtor like me who actually thinks outside the box and gets these ideas. And here's the thing, guys. I'm not trying to be sarcastic, please, but buyers, home buyers or thinking of entering the market. So you wanted more selection, you wanted lower rates, and you wanted softer prices. I mean, I know you wanted like 50% less. That's not going to happen. And think about the people selling. You want other Canadians lose 50% of their equity? Really? Honestly? You can't have that kind of resentment. But you got more selection, lower rates, softer prices. Okay, there it is. That's the dog who got the car. Woof, 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 I got the car. What's the dog going to do with the car? Doesn't know. That's where a lot of buyers are right now. You literally got what you wanted, but now it's the Tim Hortons effect. They have a few specific sizes, and that's it. That's a sales thing. You don't want to give people too many selections because it screws them up. That's the problem with 32,000 active listings. Buyers who, when there was a lot less, would have been fighting with 5-6 other offers on the property. Now they're looking at this huge selection and going, well, what? Maybe I'll hold off a little bit. Instead of making a decision, listen, this is a great environment. Okay? I know the economy is a little odd. I know we got tariffs and blah, 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 and all the stuff in the news that people want to keep you distracted. But has the roof, the sky hasn't fallen, guys. If you're not directly impacted by that, maybe you should take advantage of the market. Sellers, very important. Inventory is high. I mentioned to you guys as well. Sales are still happening. Sales are still happening, but it's very area dependent. Some areas are slow as molasses. I know. Local area market knowledge is essential. If you don't know, contact me. Again, people do it. It's not an obligation. I don't have to sign anything. You have to be my client. I'd love for you to be my client. However, I'm happy to give information. I know a lot about other areas. I can research it for you. If you decide to sell, plan carefully right from the start. Planning is huge. What do you want to do? What are you comfortable with? What can you handle financially? Can you handle financially if you buy the property and yours doesn't sell for a while? Is that okay? Because for some of you, you just want to get the perfect house. You don't really care about the finances. For some of you, finances are very, very important. So there, sell first, make plans after. If you're listed already and not getting a lot of action, price may not be your issue. Here's the thing, guys. This is important. Please, just listen. It's not always price. Sometimes there are just not buyers for your house at the moment. Okay? You can't force people to buy your house. Now, you lower your price low enough, someone's going to buy it. Possibly an investor. Someone's going to buy it. You put your house down at $10, you'll see me at your door. But that's not the case. Sometimes it's not price. Realtors, listen, I've talked to at least two sellers came to one of my open houses just 2 weeks ago telling me this exact thing. And I told them, look, honesty, it might not be your agent. It might not be what you're doing. The agent is telling them to lower the price. Look, if you lower the price and you're not seeing showings, the key is not to lower the price again. If you're realistic, if you're way over too high, forget it. Like, it's not going to sell. Not in this market. I'm sorry. You got to price properly. However, it might not be the price. You just might not have anyone interested in your house. Hard to hear. I understand. But understand it's not always price. So if you don't have to sell, don't give your house away. And I mean this because I see people doing it. I see people dropping the price. And one of them I know for sure came to me. We talked about it. And the agent actually increased their price. So good. But, it's always the price. A lot of realtors say it isn't always the price. Sometimes you just have to wait it out. You might not have a buyer for your house yet, okay? Can't force people to buy it. Whether you're still deciding or you're already listed, call me if you have questions. I've talked to a lot of people recently. I know a lot of people in tight spots. Some just would like to sell, quite frankly. Like, you can move on things. And those are the kinds of people I'd love to chat with. Guys, if you have questions, always, Andrew the Realtor. I try to be around. Contact me if you have questions. QR code for the real estate experience. Hopefully this doesn't go too long. I'm not watching this money. I'm time myself. So, guys, have a fantastic rest of June. Need anything, give me a shout. If not, I'll see you guys in July.